All right, welcome to Rock Vegas, everybody. This is Glen Rockney. Raider Nation, I have a special episode planned for you guys. Interviewed PFF's Austin Gayle. He's a Raider fan, grew up a Raider fan, still a Raider fan. We did confirm and we got him to admit it later in the show. So that's coming up in a little bit. I just wanted to go over a couple things and then do a mock draft simulator because I think that'll be fun. Kind of a slow week for Raiders news. Not a whole lot going on the free agent front. I don't expect that to change a lot. Maybe a couple signings, but I expect a lot of that to kind of be after the draft, some of the free agent action that happens there. I think the guys that are there are fine being there, like the Richard Shermans. Richard Sherman doesn't need to sign right now. Where he goes, I think he's going to know he was going the whole time, but they're going to wait for the draft to fall out, in my opinion. But per Ian Rappaport, this was 20 minutes ago. This is while I was in the interview. I saw that the Raiders are hosting Carl Joseph. You guys remember him? Carl Joseph, safety, Cleveland Browns. Former, what was he, 14th overall Raiders draft pick? Drafted him pretty high. Was okay for the Raiders. He was okay. And, he left, didn't get the deal that he thought he was going to get. I think he went to Cleveland on a 1-year deal, and they're hosting him for a visit. And I can't say that I hate it. I can't say that I hate it. Not that I think Carl Joseph's going to be in for some resurgence or ever live up to that draft spot that they picked him at. But for one, if you ask Carl Joseph to just be rangy and help out on the back end, I think he can do that. What the Raiders were asking him to do was cover tight ends. That's not going to happen. And it doesn't have to here. I guarantee you, if Carl Joseph signs with the Raiders, it's going to be just for like 3 million, 4 million, nothing big, right? Maybe not even that. That still doesn't stop you from drafting a safety, but it does maybe stop you from reaching on one round one, which that's my ultimate fear. I talked about it with Austin Gayle. Do not reach on a safety. Like, I was my fear. There's no Ed Reed in this class. I mean, if there is, they didn't show it on tape in college. But these Morrigs and other guys, like I don't see them being the move. Richie Grant, if that happened at 17, for one, I'd be surprised for a second, but then I'd be like, oh God, of course they did, And if they were to bring in a safety like this, I don't know, maybe they already have their mind made up on who they're picking, but this would stop them from maybe getting desperate, And then, like I said, you can still add one because you want to be 3-4 deep at safety. We're in a division with Patrick Mahomes. Denver, I bet you Denver has a new quarterback other than Drew Lock after, honestly, day one, in my opinion. We'll see. And, Justin Herbert's in the division. You're going to have safeties, you're going to have corners, and you're going to have pass rushers. So if you bring in Carl Joseph and give him a nice simplified role, it's a new defense. This isn't the Paul Guenther defense that Carl Joseph played in, right? When his first year with Gruden. It just wasn't that. So I think if you could get Carl Joseph in just a role where, if you saw at West Virginia, some of his best plays in college, and I know this is a long time ago, and I know he got injured in college, and maybe that affected him a little bit, but he's still fast, he's still athletic, can still hit, and is a really good tackler. But if you just ask him to be rangy over the top, which I think they're going to do, I think they're going to want Abram around the line of scrimmage in that kind of Jamal Adams, just rover role, like where you just see ball, hit ball kind of guy. I think that's Jonathan Abram's role in the NFL. I think the Carl Joseph, if they were to get him signed, I'd be pretty happy with that. And let's be real. It's not Eric Harris. It's not Jeff Heath. I mean, Jeff Heath's still here. Guy's like a cockroach, man. Like, you can't get rid of that guy. But Eric Harris, he's gone. But now you're not, Dallin Levitt doesn't have to see the field maybe if you draft a safety, which I think they will. I can almost guarantee you they're going to draft a safety. This just moves those guys down the depth chart. Dallin Levitt just becomes a special teams player, which I guess that's his thing. I still remember him rolling into the kicker last year against Atlanta, but whatever. So yeah, that's the Carl Joseph news. Let's get into the mock draft. I just wanted to do this. It'd be fun. Again, slow week of Raiders news. I got the Austin Gayle interview coming up later. Stay tuned for that. And yeah, let's get into it. So I'm using the PFF just, in honor of our guest today. I'm using the PFF mock draft simulator. I like them the most because I like the Draft Network one is cool. I actually like their interface a lot, but you got to pay to do trades. So I don't know. I kind of like this a little more. So this one, the board looks a little different because PFF's board is different, right? Like PFF's board is way different, skewed towards positional value. We get into it later in the interview. So it's going to look a lot different. I don't think a lot of these guys will be available when they are available in this mock draft. I'm sure a lot of Raider Nation's been doing this. So shut up, Glenn. Get to the draft. I got it. I heard you. So here we go. Let's do it. Let's put this on the screen and share it. Perfect. All right. So let's get started. Raiders pick at 17. Oh, it's gonna be awesome. It's gonna be awesome. We're gonna change the Raiders right here. Oh, Mac Jones is still available. We got, yeah. See what I mean? That's not gonna happen. So let's be real. I don't think J.C. Horn or Mac Jones is gonna be there. So what I'm gonna do is, when we're looking here, you know what? Let's say J.C. Horn is available. I'm gonna take him because everybody else, we're not taking Trayvon Moehrig. Rashad Bateman, who I love. Not sure I see the Raiders doing that. Greg Newsome, who I like, but I don't like him more than J.C. Horn. I can't pass on him right here. I'm going to get a bad grade if I do that. So we're going to take J.C. Horn. Sounds good. All right. So we got J.C. Horn. We got our lockdown corner. You got Trayvon Mullen, Damon Arnett, and J.C. Horn. All guys on rookie deals still. All guys you like a lot. So what do we need now? We need our tackle. So this goes right now. I'm already looking at, do we go Walker Little or Dylan Radins? A lot of people like Walker Little. Matt Fallon loves Walker Little. I like Walker Little. I'm a little bit scared. I know he's had a lot of injuries in college. Mike Tannenbaum, I was listening to him the other day, and he's like, look, if guys get injured in college, like, they're going to get injured in the pros. Like, it just happens more often than not. It's tough. So what I'm going to try to do is I'm going to look at who else is on the board. I see Landon Dickerson's there, another guy that gets hurt. Jackson Carman's still there. I want to get a tackle in this draft. I don't love the depth here, right? It looks like the tackles are going early. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take Dylan Radins. I like Dylan Radins. And you know what? Walker Little. We're taking Walker Little. Ball out. Go for the top end guys. He's a freak athlete, Stanford product. Let's do it. I talked myself out of it. So we're in the third round. In the third round, there are still some great players here. I'm not trading back at all. I didn't no trades. I like everything I'm seeing here, right? So there's a lot we could do here in the third round. So we need a safety, though. The Raiders do need a safety. De'Ami Brown is a really fun player, good deep threat, but look, I thought you should be with John Brown and Henry Ruggs. You should be good with your deep passing game. And Derek Carr's still going to need to win underneath in a Gruden offense. Maybe we don't do that. I love Jamar Johnson, and that's who I'm taking. Love Jamar Johnson. But the Raiders have the next pick as well, 79 and 80. Thank you, Rodney Hudson. Jamar Johnson, it is. So where do we go now? I think what we'll do. So I'm in between here on Jamin Davis, Jamin Davis. I'm actually unsure on his name, or Kendrick Green here. Those are the guys I like. I would lean towards Tay Gowan, but we did take J.C. Horn. He fell into our laps at 17 there. Yeah, I think what we're gonna do is we're gonna go with Jamin Davis. Yeah, no, I feel great about that. We're high-fiving in the war room. Yeah, that's what's happening. So let's get to our next pick here at 121. 121. Would you look at that? I stayed patient. Kendrick Green's still on the board. Kendrick Green's a nice athletic guard prospect. Doesn't have to play right away. You have Rich Incognito. You have Denzel Good, John Simpson, who you drafted the year before. Fortify that interior. A lot of people think Kendrick Green's going to play center as well. So that's interesting, too. If you have guard center versatility, I think Tom Cable's all over that. So let's go Kendrick Green. I think it's a no-brainer. I love Milton Williams, by the way. Milton Williams rocks. So let's go with Kendrick Green. Yeah, Milton Williams tough to pass on there, but to be honest, I want to get this offensive line young, cheap, and athletic. All right. Oh man, Tay Gowan is still there, and Milton Williams is still there. Being a GM is easy. Let me just tell you that, right? Look how easy this is. I'm just crushing it. Like that, I think I've drafted 3 Hall of Famers. I'm just messing around. Jesus Christ. Relax, Raider Nation. Relax. This is interesting here. Round 5. Tay Gowan is still there. I think I got to go Milton Williams here, though. I think I got to go Milton Williams. Milton Williams, if you look at his pro day numbers, are insane. I've seen people put these numbers, and look, I don't think he's this player. Obviously, he's not this player, or else he'd be drafted where this guy was drafted. But Milton Williams has comparable pro day numbers to Aaron Donald. In the 5th round, if you have comparable pro day numbers to Aaron Donald, I'm taking you, right? I'm taking you. I don't care what happens. 5th round pick. It's worth it every single time you draft a freakish athlete. He doesn't have the production Aaron Donald did. And it doesn't show up every play on his tape either. I think he has some motor issues and stuff. Whatever. 5th round pick. Low risk, really high reward. Okay, pick number 167. No chance Benjamin St. Juste is still there. That's just embarrassment of riches. Just an embarrassment of riches. Jamie and Sherwood, Jalen Darden, who actually, he's fun to watch if you watch his tape from North Texas. Justin Healy. Let's take Benjamin St. Juste. Drafted 2 corners. Look, I know. There's so many corners on this team now. What do we do? Oh, I don't know. Maybe we just cut Nevin Lawson. How about that? Yeah, how about that? All right. So this is the Raiders' last pick of the draft? Yeah, 200. Wow, it went by so fast. Usually drafts last longer than that for some reason. I love Aaron Banks. I'm a big Aaron Banks fan, big Notre Dame fan. Aaron Banks is awesome. I think he's going to be a really solid starting guard in the NFL. I think he'll go a lot earlier than this. I think he's going to be gone by the 4th round. Let's see. You know what? I know I drafted a guard earlier, but I'm going to take another guard. I don't care. We might be having Kendrick Green playing center if he ends up working out at center. So why not draft another guard, right? Richie Incognito's not going to play forever. Aaron Banks. So yeah, I mean that's the picks right there. That's the picks. Let's see what they give me. Let's see. Grading your draft. They gave me a C-. A C-. I got to put this on the screen. Hold on. They gave me a C-. PFF. Come on. I just interviewed one of your guys, man. Cut me some slack. C- for drafting JC Horn at 17 overall. I would attempt a backflip and go to the intensive care unit. I'd be 7 or 8 IPAs deep. Lord knows how many edibles. And I would do a flip and almost break my neck if we got JC Horn at 17. C-. They give me. That's barely enough to play football in colleges when you get the C-. Maybe not at South Carolina, but Walker Little, they give me a C+. If Walker Little and JC Horn are our first 2 picks, I'm again more backflips. Jamar Johnson gets a B+. Jamin Davis gets a C+. Kendrick Green gets a B+. Milton Williams gets a B+. Benjamin St. Juste in the 5th round gets a C+, which again, I think he's gone day 2. I think day 2, end of day 2, he's gone. Aaron Banks gets a B. Overall, they gave me a B, which they didn't like the top end, which is insane. So yeah, that's it. That's mock draft. I'll do one of these with Matt Fallon when he comes on too. But again, we didn't have a lot of news in Raider Nation this week. And so I'll have this plus the interview, which will be coming up shortly in this program. Do not stop listening because it's a really fun interview with Austin Gayle. Again, I'm at Glen Rockney. You can follow me on Twitter. Talk shit to me. If you like the program, say you like it. If you don't, tell me why. No problem. Review on iTunes if you listen on iTunes. Subscribe on YouTube. It's the Rare Candy YouTube page. Again, if you're watching this on YouTube, just press subscribe. It might look confusing. It doesn't say Glen Rockney. It says Rare Candy. That's just where all the podcasts that I do and YouTube stuff I do is on there. So yeah, that's it for me, Raider Nation. Hopefully they sign Carl Joseph. I would love to sign Carl Joseph. It would make me very happy. I didn't think that was any kind of possibility. So, all right, here's the interview with Austin Gayle. All right, Raider Nation. Got a special guest today from Pro Football Focus, 2-for-1 Drafts podcast, one of my favorite draft podcasts this time of year. Don't want to miss it with Mike Renner. And today I have Austin Gayle. How's it going, man?
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
No worries. So he's a busy man, especially this time of year. I'm sure. I'm sure. You're counting down the days to the finish line. Are you looking forward to the draft, or do you not want this time to end?
It's definitely a love-hate. I mean, I'm definitely excited for the draft. I think when you see all the results come in and you're able to evaluate draft classes as a whole, it's awesome. I definitely think this period of time, I do think the last 3 weeks before the draft, I think so much of the conversation becomes on what people are hearing and not actually evaluating who's good and who isn't, that it gets kind of noisy and not super fun. But I do think that, it's a fun time. I'm still evaluating players and looking at players every day, so that's fun.
Doesn't stop. So another question I have. Now, I know you grew up a Raider fan. Are you still a Raider fan? Really, are you still just that week one, when week one comes around, regardless of the offseason, are you still let's get it, boys?
I think so. I want to say yes. I think my fandom has definitely dwelled or come down a little bit since obviously leaving. I don't think it was even leaving Oakland. It was just more like being an analyst, being an NFL analyst. It's very difficult to kind of still commit fandom, still be a fanatic over one team when obviously you're analyzing, excuse me, when you're analyzing, 32 NFL teams and trying to look at things more objectively, it's difficult to be locked into any one team. Of course, I'm still supporting them. And the biggest reason for that is still my friends from back home. My dad is still a big Raiders fan, all those things. So I definitely think I support them for those reasons.
Yeah. And let's be real. They haven't made it easy for you to support them. So for me, it's every Sunday, I'm not a fan anymore. Every Sunday, every week, nope, I'm going to find another team or just be into players. But the Raiders haven't drafted well most of my life, probably most of your life as well, I would imagine. And but let's just focus on, since Mike Mayock got there with Jon Gruden, and they've had 5 first-round picks under Mike Mayock. And what you guys do differently at PFF is you guys really take in positional value with those picks. And I've heard what you guys have said. You guys don't exactly think that they got the most value for those picks, right?
Not necessarily. I do think that, when we're looking at it from a positional value perspective, the Raiders have kind of thrown it out the window, looking at some of the players that they have drafted. I do think that, valuable positions, and we're talking about, there's two, definitions or two ways to look at positional value. Obviously, there's the positional value aspect of which positions more often impact wins than other ones. Quarterback being a dominant piece there. Pass rusher, very important. Wide receiver, corner, those are more on the football field, valuable positions. I throw safety in the mix as well, probably an undervalued position in the market. But then there's this other conversation about market value positions. What are the highest paid positions in the NFL on the open market? That's quarterback, edge defender, offensive tackle, defensive tackle, these guys that affect the passing game, wide receiver, corner. And then you finally get these situations where the lowest value positions from on the market are box safety, running back, tight end, off-ball linebacker. And I think that's where you've seen, the Las Vegas Raiders spend too many resources. And in the picks that they have, invested in valuable positions like edge defender, Cleveland Ferrell, offensive tackle, Colton Miller, cornerback, Damon Arnett, Trayvon Mullen. They've swung and missed on some of those. Colton Miller, now what? Top 5 paid tackle in the NFL, $18 million per year. I think he's still quote unquote overpaid for the position. I don't think he's the 5th best tackle in the NFL. But of all the picks that they've made in recent years, that's their best one. Because why? Is an athletic, high upside type of offensive tackle or type of player at a valuable position at offensive tackle. And now paying him the first, I think, player from the 2018 NFL draft to get an extension at $18 million per year, that figure is going to look a lot cheaper in 2-3 years time. And I think you're getting ahead of the market. You're extending him ahead of time. I really do think that the Colton Miller pick, I didn't love it at first. Passing on Derwin James or Colton Miller was not what I thought that made the most sense. However, looking at it in hindsight and, over the 3 years I've been at PFF, I think I've learned a lot more about positional value and how you evaluate each pick in the draft. It was one of their better picks. It was a strong choice because if Colton Miller could just be average to above average, which he's been average this past season, slightly above average as a run blocker and really above average as a pass protector. If he can be that type of player for you, he's worth the money. He's worth at a valuable position like that. It's very much worth it. Hitting on a player at a valuable position like tackle that can be average to above average is awesome to see. And I think it's an extension well deserved. We can debate whether or not he should be the 10th best paid tackle or best. You have to pay the market rate every single time. They paid that, and I don't think it was a bad decision.
Right. So then 2019, you like you said, Cleveland Ferrell, a primarily run stopping, not exactly a athlete, right? Like Colton Miller was at 4 with guys like Brian Burns still there. And then Josh Jacobs, right? As a running back, right? And even then, did they bet on athletic upside with Josh Jacobs? No, they didn't. Right, like was not the fastest running back, but by any means, he was one of the slower ones. Even though he's been great. And then you said like a box safety, and these are guys that you can get cheaper on the open market, right? When you're in free agency, if you're trying to just fill holes on your team rather than using valuable resources, right?
Yeah, that 2019 draft is real head scratcher because Cleveland Ferrell, though a valuable position, if he plays along the edge, was just a reach. I mean, Brian Burns was a better prospect. Josh Allen was a better prospect. Like I was very I think it was a misevaluation on who the best edge defender was in that class. And I think in addition to that, Josh Jacobs could be a top 5 running back in the NFL and still, not necessarily worth that, that investment because again, when you pay Josh Jacobs that first round rookie cost controlled contract, the immediate expectations is 1, he's got to stay healthy. 2, he's got to be probably a top 10 player in his position because that is a high paid contract. If you draft a running back inside the top 10, top 15, he immediately becomes one of the 10 highest paid players at his position. You do the same thing for tackle, edge, QB, obviously, wide receiver, corner. It's not even close. You look at box safety, Jonathan Abram. Even if Jonathan Abram was good, which he hasn't been, even if he's been good, even if he was average to above average, the best safety on the open market this past year, John Johnson, won't even make more than $11, $12 million a year next year. Like, again, it's when teams are paying so much money for offensive tackles, edge defenders, and these different things, and you can get players at these positions cheaper, I just don't think it makes sense when the NFL has gifted every team these cost-controlled contracts to spend it on lower value positions. It's why attack box safety on day 2, day 3. Attack interior offensive line, interior defensive line, day 2, day 3. Go after those low-value linebacker. Go after those low-value positions later in the draft, day 2, day 3, before you start spending those high picks on them.
Yeah, no, I agree with you guys. I mean, it's weird because like you guys were low on it. There were other media outlets that were like, no, they got a bunch of ball players. This is a tone-setting leadership change and stuff. And it's too early with Henry Ruggs. Even though Damon Arnett was a reach and he'll always be a reach, it's still too early, right? We don't know. We don't know. Every rookie corner struggled last year to an extent, but this year, 2021 draft, they picked 17th. Raiders picked 17th overall. Now, a lot of people think that they are pigeonholed into picking a right tackle. Do you agree?
I don't think they're pigeonholed, but I do think that they should be looking at the pass rusher class or the offensive tackle class. Like that's where that 17th overall pick is going to make sense. That's where there's going to be value. You take a linebacker there, I think it's too early. Whether it's Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, I don't think Micah Parsons will be there. You take anyone other than Micah Parsons at 17 at linebacker there, I think it's too early. I think Christian Barmore might be a little too rich in my opinion. I want to take an interior defensive lineman there. And then the wide receiver class, after the big 3, as much as I love Rashad Bateman, as much as I love Kadarius Toney, I'm not a big fan of them in that spot either. I think at that point where the value is going to be Christian Darrisaw, Virginia Tech, Tevin Jenkins, Oklahoma State. You could go Walker Little of Stanford. Might be too early for him considering injury concerns and those things. Or Kwity Paye of Michigan, Jason Owe of Penn State. Like any of those guys would also work as well. I think you have to consider those positions. The last position, I've had this take on a handful of Raiders, Las Vegas radio stations and those things. The last position you take is safety. Some people are like, well, they didn't sign a safety. Jeff Heath, what are we even doing here? It's like, stop. The only good safety in this class that's worth taking in the first round is Trayvon Moehrig. And even then, at 17, I think it's an egregious misuse of resources because safety is still a lower valued market value position. Like not a lot of teams are paying a ton of money for safeties. And plus, there's still some on the market. They can go get Malik Hooker still. I think Trey Boston's still available. Like you don't have to invest that number 17 overall pick in a safety. And you don't have to tell the Raiders that. Investing in Carl Joseph, Jonathan Abram. Like it's been a while since Charles Woodson hit. And Charles Woodson was a corner out of the gate. So like I don't think the Raiders need to invest in safety out of the gate.
And Charles Woodson contributed on offense too. So, I mean, the value was just unbelievable at that pick, if you ask me. But also too doesn't help that your GM was a safety or a corner? Was it Mike Mayock was a corner or a safety? So I think you might value that position more than most people. But what do you think about corner at 17? I mean, do you think I don't think they're set at corner personally. Like
No way. The problem I have with corner is that, one, I think the top two guys will be off the board in Patrick Surtain and J.C. Horn. I'm nervous about Caleb Farley and the back surgeries. From what I've heard, it sounds closer to a Tony Romo situation than maybe people want it to be, to where the back injury is going to be kind of long-term and kind of suffering, whatever it may be. I don't want to speak to speculation, but I've heard the back stuff could be bad for Caleb Farley. The other thing is Greg Newsome doesn't really fit what they want to do. Like Greg Newsome, though he could play press man at the next level, I think he's better in an off coverage scheme. I think they're going to want to play man coverage with Damon Arnett and obviously Trayvon Mullen. You don't draft those players to not play press man coverage. And I think they were misused in Paul Gunther's scheme. I think Gus Bradley puts them in a better position to succeed. Another reason you don't want to draft corner there, unless obviously a big time talent like Horn or Surtain falls to you at 17, is that you just invested, you've invested 2 top 50 picks at corner in Damon Arnett and Trayvon Mullen. At what point are you going to commit and develop those guys? Like you have to. Like you invested those picks, you have to commit and develop those guys. You can't just keep bringing in other talent to like play ahead of them. The other guy too is Amik Robertson, who obviously they have a ton of interest in and could potentially play in the slot at the slot corner next year. Let's see it. Like you got to see these guys play, in my opinion.
Okay. Well, I think I agree with you there, especially it's just terrible with the Caleb Farley news. I think that would have skewed the whole draft to where even a J.C. Horn becomes available at 17, and just my last question for you is, after day one's over, for you, we already established you're still a Raider fan. So what is somebody on day 2, day 3, where you would just be like, yes, they drafted this guy,
That's interesting. I do think that I would continue to look to invest along the offensive line. I think if they do grab a tackle at 17, go grab another one, dude. Like this tackle class is so good. You can go get a Darisaw or Tevin Jenkins at 17, and then in the second round, go get Walker Little, Dylan Radins, Alex Leatherwood, Sam. If those guys start to fall, you can go get better along the offensive line. It's something where getting cheaper at valuable positions, even if they aren't clear-cut positions of need. Like obviously you love Colt Miller, you just paid him that money. You're maybe going to draft a tackle in the first round. Getting better, getting deeper at valuable positions is going to help you open up spend in free agency. When you don't have to pay your entire offensive line, like they did, people forget. The Las Vegas Raiders chased the ceiling along the offensive line. Rodney Hudson, highest paid center at the time. Gabe Jackson to a monster extension. Trent Brown, highest paid offensive tackle. First round pick on Colton Miller. They chased the ceiling. They chased the moon. They shot the moon along the offensive line. Now, Gabe Jackson gone, Rodney Hudson gone, Trent Brown gone. It's very difficult to pay 3-4 guys along the offensive line a ton of money. So you have to get cheaper and you have to get younger at those positions. So I do think double dipping along the offensive line could be an option. If not, the thing is, if they don't go pass rusher in round 1, there's some round 2 guys that I like, but I don't love. Carlos Basham Jr. of Wake Forest is one that I think has multiple gap versatility. I think he would fit well in Gus Bradley's defense. And I think that's the elephant in the room too. Like there's holes along the offensive line. There's holes at corner even if you wanted to get better there and you wanted a Horn or a Patrick Surtain. But Gus Bradley's defense doesn't blitz. I mean, over the past 5 years, he's blitzed at the lowest rate of any defense coordinator in the NFL. The reason he's had success in previous years, you go back to his time with Seattle, Cliff Averill, Michael Bennett up front, had a lot of success in Seattle. Then you go to Jacksonville, Unique Ngakoue when he was banging, Calais Campbell out there in Jacksonville. Then you go to Los Angeles, Melvin Ingram, Joey Bosa. Like he has had dominant pass rushers up front when his defenses have had success. I don't think the Raiders have that. Not with a combination of Max Crosby, Cleveland Ferrell, Unique Ngakoue. I don't think that's it. I think you do need to get better there, at least from a rotational perspective. So if they do went round 1, I'd say a Jalen Phillips, Kwity Paye, Jason Owe, then you can feel really confident in round 2 going after one of those tackles I spoke to, like Walker Little or Sam Cowell. But again, they don't have to lock into any position, but go get the valuable ones. Pass rusher, offensive tackle. Go find a way to go get those.
I actually completely agree with that. Like I don't ever want them to just be like 17, because that's what they have done. Is we were taking a wide receiver at 12 last year, taking a corner at 19. It just seemed like they were locked in on their guy and they're scared to lose him. So I really appreciate you joining me. I won't keep you any longer, man. Thanks for coming by. Everyone, Austin Gayle is, and go ahead and plug everything you have right now, because it's a lot.
Yeah, definitely check out, PFF.com first and foremost, doing a lot of fun stuff there, with the NFL draft and the NFL draft guide and stuff that we have. We'll also be doing our live draft show. You'll see me and Mike on camera for like 6 hours straight for the 2021 NFL draft, which will be fun. And then the other thing to mention, follow me on Twitter, PFF_Austin Gayle. And then also 2-4 Drafts, man. If you like draft content year round, we're doing it there at 2-4 Drafts, wherever you find your podcast.
I love that podcast. You're a Raider fan. He's a Notre Dame fan. So I'm like, beautiful. It's me. So I just get Homer stuff pretty much for the most part on that podcast. I'm at Glen Rockney. This is Rock Vegas. I appreciate you guys. Austin, thanks again.